Yo, what is going on, guys? My name is Leo Master. Welcome back to another Overwatch League news video, and I know it's been a minute for another video, and there's a lot to go over, and I'm gonna try my best not to make this video super long. So I'm just gonna talk about the signings that happened, little small, opinion on it, and then move on. Let's go ahead and jump right into it, not to keep it that long already. Let's jump right into the Boston Uprising. If you guys did not see, they have made some huge signings so far. So Boston Uprising, if you guys did not see, two really big signings, especially for Overwatch 2 coming around the corner, is Marvel and Striker is back on the Boston Uprising. Now, I'm going to talk about Striker last, but Marvel, I sat back and thought about even more of Marvel. I think Marvel is kind of an underrated signing so far. Yes, Marvel did not look the greatest sometimes back on Seoul Dynasty, very inconsistent. But I think the main reason why Boston really picked up Marvel is because of his flexibility. Overwatch 2 is coming around the corner, and it's one tank, and you need that one tank player to be very flexible. And I think that's really Marvel. We saw Marvel play almost all the tanks back when he was on Seoul Dynasty. Played main tank, played off tank, all over the place. He showed his flexibility. Was it inconsistent time to time? Absolutely. But now that it's like only one tank, and you need that one tank to be very flexible, I think Marvel is honestly one of the best tanks you could probably get right now for Overwatch 2. Is he going to be top tier? I don't think so. I think he's going to be more of like the mid to top tier area. But I think it is a really well thought out signing from the Boston Uprising. Now let's talk about the next one, which is Striker. Now I will say Striker, fantastic player. He came out of retirement and joins the Boston Uprising. Out of all teams, did not expect this one. And here's my reasonings why I did not expect this one. Is because if y'all remember back in season 1, there was a lot of rumors, and I think they ended up being true as well, is that Striker was kind of toxic back on season 1 of Boston Uprising. There was rumors of someone, I don't know if it was Striker specifically, but there was rumors about Striker, let's say, punching, monitors or getting mad occasionally time to time on Boston Uprising. There was rumors like that back in season 1. And him coming back on Boston Uprising is kind of interesting because they still have Huck there, and Huck, there was also rumor about Huck always starting the drama or being one of the main pieces of the drama with also players as well. So it is very confusing seeing Striker come back to Boston Uprising, but all those rumors could still be false or just, just to start a rumor, and the rumors were started. And they're back to, being friends again, and they're leaving that in the past, and they respect each other again. So I still think either way, Boston Uprising making big signings. They previously signed Crimzo. They still have Valentine and all those players still. And now Striker and Marvel coming around. I think these are going to be great signings for the Boston Uprising in the future. Could there be better tanks that were more flexible? Maybe, but I think Marvel is just really good for Overwatch 2, especially for the start of Overwatch 2 as well. Now to the next one, we have the Dallas Fuel. And unfortunately, the last video, which was funny, all of y'all pointed it out instantly, is that I thought they were done with the roster in my previous video. An hour or two later, Dallas Fuel announced the signing of Guriyo, and then right after that signing, the GM Deer says, that's it. We are done with our roster. Which is just funny how things went out. And they confirmed it too. I have a feeling they may sign more players during the season. Of course, that could happen. Maybe not, if Overwatch 2 is still. And making this video, even Overwatch 2 got delayed again, so that's great. But, Guriyo on the Dallas Fuel, I don't know that much about him, but I have heard that he is kind of really good, really underrated. Some people kind of slept on him in contenders, so he could be good. I have not seen really at all of Guriyo just yet, but hey, I've heard he's good by a lot of players and a lot of people, so I think this is a somewhat solid signing, though I still think, like Sparkle and Doe is going to play more, absolutely, but I think this is a good signing. Now onto another team making a lot of signings. It is the Toronto Defiant, and they have signed MuZe, Korong, and Hotba. Forgive me if I said the second name wrong. I am really tired right now, but the second one, I mean, look, that main sport, Korong, we'll say Korong from now on, he was the most looked at main sport all in contenders for like a year or two. He was like the #1 main sport, and Toronto Defiant ended up getting him. And I'm very interested to see how this will turn out for the Toronto Defiant when the season starts, because they got the best main sport to get right now in contenders. And on top of this, they got 2 tanks. Now, are these 2 tanks good? We'll see. Overwatch 2 going to be a little different. Maybe Hotba will get most playtime, because we have seen Hotba's flexibility in the past before. And we've seen MuZe, but he's not as flexible as Hotba when it comes to the flexibility in the tank area. MuZe's Rein isn't the best compared to other Reins in the game. His Winston's great. His Arrest is kind of solid. But Hotba, he can play almost every tank. Now, is he the top tier at it? No, but he can play it at a somewhat Overwatch League level. He can compete with some of the Overwatch League players. MuZe can do it as well, but his Rein just isn't like compared to, like, let's say Super or just players around that top general area, even Fearless. So seeing these 3 signings are great, but there is some holes that still need to be filled with these tanks as well. Now onto the Los Angeles Gladiators, making also a lot of good signings here, is a lot of coaching changes and 2 players. So let's go ahead and go over everything real quick. The coaches they have signed is Face, Unter, and Smash. Now, Face has been with the team for a hot minute now, and he's now been promoted to head coach. And you also have Unter, which I think, showed that he was a really good assistant coach for the Atlanta Reign. And seeing Atlanta Reign give him away is kind of interesting to see. And then you have Smash. My knowledge on Smash is 0. I don't have anything to say about him. But I do think these coaching changes could be very good for the future of the team, especially Unter. We've seen that he's been great for Atlanta Reign. Face has been working with the Glads for a minute now, so we may know a few things or two to help with the team. And Smash is there as well. And the 2 signings, Reiner and Ons, as well. So Reiner, if you guys have not known, has also been one of the most looked at main tanks and contenders for a hot minute. Now, I'm very interested to see how this will turn out. I think it is going to turn out pretty solid. I think this could be one of the better main tanks in a minute. I think MuZe is still top tier near the end of the season, but we'll see how Reiner turns out. I think Glads have just been time and time again dealing with main tank issues, especially at the start of the season, and then fixing it near the end. The best main tank they really had that really changed their team was Fisher back in season 1, but obviously there was issues there. You had iRemix issues there. OG thought things were going to change, things didn't change. Then you had MuZe issues at the start of the season, got better near the end. Hopefully Glads now found that main tank that could really change this team. And then you have Ons, which really came out of left field. I did not expect Ons to be on the LA Gladiators. He is a very good hit scan. Yes, his previous season was really up and down, everywhere for the shock. But I still think Ons is still going to be that really top tier hit scan player coming in for the Los Angeles Gladiators as well, really replacing Birdring, I would say perfectly. I think this is a perfect replacement over Birdring, and I'm very excited to see what the Gladiators are going to do later in the future with just these signings, and especially the coaching changes. There's also a lot of drama with DPay and the coaching changes there. If you want to dive into that, you dive into that, because I don't like to talk about drama that much. But coaching changes, something that may have been needed. And then also you have the 2 signings I think are going to be pretty good for the team in the future. Now onto the Washington Justice. They have made 2 signings for flex support area. One was already leaked. I think both these are actually leaked as well. Is that Washington Justice have signed Krillin and Vigilante. Now, I will say I've been watching Vigilante for a minute. I've had my eye on this guy, and I think this guy is like one of the next upcoming top flex sports. I really believe that. If you've watched them, you probably know what I'm talking about. I think Vigilante has a lot of potential coming into next season of the Overwatch League. Then you have Krillin. It's really hard to say things about Krillin because every time he played on the Spitfire, it was one of those throwaway games that they knew they were going to win, or just like they knew they were going to give up, so Krillin didn't look that good. So I think Krillin, just from what we've seen all around of him on the Spitfire, is that he's kind of solid. It's kind of hard to compare him to the top of the top because we haven't seen him really play consistently to really say that he will compete with the top players in the league. But Vigilante, what I've seen consistently is that he is going to be competing with the top of the top flex sports. Now onto a team that is making a lot of changes, which we've known in the past with leaks as well, is the Florida Mayhem. We got releases, we got coaching changes, we got leaks, signings, I got all of that. We got all the things with Florida Mayhem. So if you guys did not see, which we already knew a few things here, is Yaki's gone. He's going to NYXL. But here's the whole list. Yaki's released. Hydron is signed. Checkmate is signed back. SirMajed is also on the Florida Mayhem. McGravy coming back on the team as an assistant coach. And for the leaks, we have someone, which is a tank player, and Adam potentially coming back as well. And these are just crazy signings, which we knew some of these were going to happen as well. But the one that got me the most was McGravy, because McGravy said a lot of things about Florida Mayhem in the past. Now obviously the management kind of changed here and there, and it's just gone over the place with Florida Mayhem. And now McGravy is back on the Florida Mayhem with also the head coach Gumba, and also working with Adam again potentially, even though I want to say McGravy and Adam worked a long time. They just worked probably a little bit on the LA Valiant, then things went downhill from there. But these signings and releases, we already knew Yaki was being traded, and especially to the NYXL potentially. But Checkmate is coming back. Interested to see how that would turn out. I think Checkmate's going to be an all-around flex player for this team. He played tank previously, and also he is a DPS player, and they still may use him time to time again. You have Hydron, also one of the most looked at DPS players and contenders. I think he's going to be solid. I don't know if he's going to be competing at the top of the top players like Sparkle or Doha, or just players like that, especially the new signing Shock has. SirMajed, I don't know that much about him. I just know he has been very, very solid for his teams and contenders. Then you have someone which I don't know that much about either when it comes to the tank area. Then you have Adam, who really does deserve the spot to be in the Overwatch League after what happened last year with him on the LA Valiant. Just kind of got on the LA Valiant, then things happened ever since, if you know the story there. Things went downhill. Florida Mayhem making many changes this year. I don't think they will be getting near that top 3 spot or top 5 spot in Overwatch League, but also I feel like this is really a experimental year for almost every Overwatch League team coming into Overwatch 2, seeing how things will turn out with Overwatch 2 all around. But I think this is an interesting team. I think it will end up being a solid team. I don't think it'll be a bottom tier team. I think it'll end up fully solid, but we'll see what happens later in the future. Now let's talk about leaks for a second. We got a lot of NYXL leaks coming from Halo of Thoughts. We guys did not see Gangnamjin, Myunbong, and the tank Kellan all being leaked to join the NYXL. And Gangnamjin, Myunbong, huge players going to the NYXL. If you guys have not seen, just from the pattern so far, is a lot of teams are signing 2 flex ports for Overwatch 2. And who really knows the ideas of that going into Overwatch 2? Yes, they played the game. They know a few things about Overwatch 2. So maybe having 2 flex ports is somewhat the meta right now coming into Overwatch 2. So getting Gangnamjin, Myunbong, and we'll talk about something later right after this. Signing 2 flex ports kind of seems like the main thing going on. And especially NYXL getting 2 top ones like this, like Myunbong and Gangnamjin. Really some top tier ones here. I think Myunbong on a whole different team could really show that potential that we were kind of missing on Boston Uprising with him going on a different team. He could really show what he's capable of. Kellan, I've seen things here and there with Kellan on his tank play. I think it has been pretty solid, so I think this is a massive upgrade in general over Yakpung in the past. And NYXL having Yakpung is big, and just having Gangnamjin and Myunbong is massive for the team in the future. Now on to another leak from Halo of Thoughts, and this is going back to the previous thing I just stated with 2 flex ports, is that according to sources, Houston Outlaws have also signed Lastro, which at start, a lot of people were questioning why would they do this. They already have Iris, but like I explained just previously, double flex ports kind of seems like the idea going into Overwatch 2, and getting Lastro is definitely massive, and also having Iris 2, once again, top flex ports coming into Overwatch 2 with the Houston Outlaws is, I think, a really good move for the team in the future. We've seen Lastro pop off on the LA Valiant, on the Toronto Defiant, and him coming onto this team, I think he'll show off even better performances than he showed in his previous times in the Overwatch League, and also with Iris coming around, Iris was just all-around top flexport on Atlanta Reign last year, and now him coming in the Houston Outlaws with Lastro could show some high tier potential for the Houston Outlaws. Now onto a signing I did not expect at all. A Paris Eternal made a crazy signing. That signing is Glister. Paris Eternal has signed Glister to their team. I did not expect this one at all. This one came out of nowhere for me. Seeing Glister on the Paris Eternal, absolutely shocking. And at first I was like kind of confused. Like it says, who doesn't love a little reunion? If y'all do not know, if you're still confused as well, it's because J-Mac and Glister were on the London Spitfire. J-Mac is now the head coach of the Paris Eternal, and Glister is now playing for Paris Eternal under J-Mac. Glister coming to Paris Eternal. Also, there was a lot of things coming with Avala saying there was a lot of things that would convince Glister to go here, and Glister's on the Paris Eternal, a team I would have never expected. But hey, I'm excited to see what he does on this team. Definitely, potentially, a carry player on this Paris Eternal squad, so we'll see what happens later in the future. Now onto the Atlanta Reign. They have fully announced the roster. No specific signing announcements. If you guys did not see, the roster coming into 2022 is KSP, Nero, Venom, Gator, Hawk, Ultraviolet, and OG. And this is definitely a roster I don't think is going to change that much. I think these are still some very top tier players. Do I wish Iris was still on there? Absolutely. Do I wish a few other players were still on here? Yes. But I think this team still coming into next season is going to be good. This is a top support duo we've seen in the past. Gator, Hawk have been working the past season. Nero, Shock previously. I think he'll do solid this year. You have KSP, has been top tier ever since he joined the Overwatch League. And then you have Venom, I think previously was known as Sigma in the past. He's also just been dominating in contenders as well. So I think this is also a big signing. Definitely a lot of things you can do here with DPS rotations. Gator, Hawk, we'll see who gets that tank position, who's the most flexible one, who stays the majority of the time. Will they go in and out, rotation on some maps? We'll see what happens there. I still think it's going to be an okay team coming in next year. I think they're still going to be top tier if anything. Now onto the Guangzhou Charge. They have also made a pretty solid main sport sign. If you guys did not see, it is Unique. Unique has been one of the most talked about main sports coming into Overwatch League and also contenders, but I will say Unique is still one of those main sports you wanted on your Overwatch League team coming in the next year after the contenders season, also Overwatch League ending. Unique's one of them. He's on the Guangzhou Charge. Also, the Charge have had dealing with many main sport issues as well since the day one, and now they have Unique, and I think this is going to be a pretty solid sign. Is he going to compete with the top of the top? Maybe. I think this is a definite maybe that he will compete with the top of the top, but Unique, I think, is going to be a all-around solid main sport coming in for the Charge next year. Now onto another leak. Now this one gets me pretty excited for the future for the Vancouver Titans because I did not see Halo Thoughts leaks that Vancouver Titans expected to sign Aztac, previously from the Toronto Defiant. Now, this shows already that they do want to try coming in next year. And we've heard that they want to try coming into Overwatch 2. And getting Aztac is definitely a pretty good sign. Did we see him play a lot last year? No, but we do know his potential, and his potential is good. Just unfortunately, you will not get playtime over Lastro, especially if Lastro previously already having Overwatch League experience. So having Aztac on the bench did suck. It was a waste of potential, but now going to Vancouver Titans, I think this is going to be a good signing. Is he going to be at the top of the top flex sports? Only time will tell. I think Aztac's going to be pretty rusty at the start, going to be a little inconsistent at the start, and then he'll pick it up through the middle of the season, and then especially near the end. I think that's going to be the deal with Aztac. I think Vancouver Titans, so far, picking up Aztac is a good sign, and I'm excited to see what they do later in the future. Then on to the next two things here. It's just things I've talked about in the past, talk about leaks. If you guys did not see, San Francisco Shock have fully announced that Finn, Kilo, and Proper are on the team. I talked about how crazy these signings were in my leaked video. You can go back and watch that. I talk about a lot in that video about these three leaked signings, especially Proper, one of the most looked at DPS players and contenders. And then also Philadelphia Fusion announcing MN3 and Zest. Big signings from both these teams here. Definitely going to change the game for Philadelphia Fusion and the San Francisco Shock. And I'm very excited to see how things turn out for every other team I talked about. You know, Dallas Fuel, done with the roster, Boston Uprising, making huge moves, really, with Striker especially. You have the Los Angeles Gladiators making many moves. Still worried about the Toronto Defiant, I will say. You know, Glister on Paris Eternal. You have Atlanta Reign having a full signing. Florida Mayhem still changing their entire roster. I will say, kind of worried, where's Moth going to be? You know, Moth's still a top main sport, in my opinion. And then you also have, in the next video, I'll definitely be talking about the London Spitfire. There is some things here I have about the London Spitfire and more things about the Boston Uprising. I know this was a lot in this video, but I think I want to save a few for the next one. And who knows, they may be officially announced at some point. So that's going to be it for me. If you guys want to stay more in tune to Overwatch League news and Overwatch stuff in general, don't forget to subscribe down below. Also, don't forget to join my Discord down below as well. Don't forget my Twitter and my Twitch. And don't forget to hit that bell. And don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. And I'll see you guys on the next one.